Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Z Nation recap for Season 3, Episode 4. This one's called Murphy's Miracle. And I just want to say off the bat, I'm real excited to see consistency in the show again. If you saw my recaps for Season 2, you know that I felt like that there was a lot of hit and a lot of miss in that. And I felt like every episode was a roll of the dice, but I really dug the first episode of this season, and I really dug this episode, the first proper episode. I'm talking about technically what's called Episode 3. And this is just yet another great continuation of what's going on with the Z Nation characters. We're split up now into three groups. We have Citizen Z up in the north. We have Warren's team in wherever they are exactly. I'm not sure what the geography is there. And we have Murphy's team going to Spokane, Washington. That's right. The actual location where they film the show is finally making an appearance as a location in the show. It's not playing some other place like Mississippi or Washington, D.C. or wherever else it's supposed to be, which is pretty great. I'm going to start off with Citizen Z because in the grand scheme of things, his arc here doesn't seem as important in this episode. It is nice to kind of move him forward a little bit, but it was, I thought, really well done. DJ Koalas is probably the best actor in the series. And he has, up until now, been sort of just slapped with kind of the cool guy up in the north, doing the DJ thing. And he's had a decent chance to do some drama and some good acting. The Russian astronaut episode was obviously just incredible. Love that to death. But in general, I feel like he hasn't been given a chance to flex his muscles. And in this season, really, we're seeing him kind of start to shine and come out as a bigger player and seeing what his acting chops are capable of. And he's up here with this Inuit family, and you kind of get the human side of the apocalypse here, where they don't have zombies to pike, really. They're not here fighting. They don't have any cool, probably we're going to get some weird cool ice zombies or something, eventually they'll have some direct drama, but his interactions with the Inuit girl and her family feel very real, and her reactions to the apocalypse and how she's just kind of trying to process everything and dealing with the fact that they're running out of food and trying to keep a brave face on it, and listening out for other signals, and she's trying to hold on to some kind of hope, and Citizen Z's like, well, I'm pretty sure there's not any. And I thought that worked really well. That's something that's the kind of thing that you need good actors to do. And I thought DJ Koalas and the girl who plays the Inuit person whose name I don't remember. I feel bad. I made a note of it yesterday when we were watching the show, but I had to wait until the next day. This is going up a day late because of scheduling conflicts. I don't remember what her name is, but she's not killing it as well, just knocking it out of the park as that character, and her family, her Nana who doesn't say anything, is just great. And I thought it was a really great sort of interlude to show something different for Citizen Z, because there's an argument to be made to say, okay, he left and now he's going back to Camp Northern Light, right? Because at the end of the episode, we see him head back to Northern Light, partly because he's heard about Operation Bite Mark, but also because he's now got this family to be responsible for instead of himself. But I think the addition of that responsibility and the addition of that sort of new possibilities for his character, new drama, that all of these things are going to move the story forward, even if we're not going to get to see him go south and meet up with the main crew at any point, or at least not probably in this season. But that was something I always hoped for. And now having him have his own team potentially, I think really does a lot of interesting stuff with that character. And I'm excited to see where that develops. I guess from a plot standpoint, the next most important thing is Warren's crew. They had the majority of the airtime in the episode, and they had what I felt like the emotional core of the episode. It didn't so much feel like it moved us forward anywhere, but it was a really great contained story within the Z Nation universe in the context of things happening in the other plot lines, and I really love that. We did get some revelations. We find out that the Chinese have pulled out, that sort of the Chinese character that we have now, whose name I also forget, is now on her own, and it's just her and Warren's crew kind of against the world, trying to fulfill their mission. But the main core of that arc of them finding this mailman in his mail truck, and him saying, hey, don't mercy these zombies that are surrounding me. Like, it's cool. They're like, they like me. It's fine. And, he chucks the brains. Like, he's very well versed with handling, especially these particular zombies. You can tell he's been around them. And there's a certain part of you, maybe for me especially, because I've been wrestling with this throughout basically all 2 seasons, as we've sort of gotten more and more hints of what the zombies are in this Z Nation universe, and the fact that they're not completely soulless husks, that I've sort of wrestled with, okay, well, what's the morality of what we're calling mercy here? Like, how do we justify the idea that we're just straight up killing these people? That we're just capping them in the head? There may be some remnants of humanity there. I think in season 2 with the Z-Weed, we saw like one of them start to be able to come down a little bit. Granted, all he said was brains, but you wonder, like, if you got a fresher zombie, maybe that wouldn't, that there would be some of the consciousness remaining. Murphy and Cassandra are kind of walking that line as well when she gets bit, because she was maybe not quite dead, but very close to dead. So that, having that question answered in the way that this episode answered it, I thought was incredible, because I was absolutely on this mailman's side. I know that that's a mistake, right? I know that you don't trust people in the apocalypse. You gotta have your guard up. Everybody's a creep. But he was speaking my language. He was saying, hey, look, these are my neighbors. I don't want to kill them. It's fine. I thought that this is what I've been thinking this whole time. How do you kill these people? How do you kill your loved ones? How do you, knowing that there is something inside of them that still understands, how do you deal with putting them out of, quote unquote, putting them out of their misery? And I mean, he never, the acting of this guy, for one thing, I thought was incredible for the part. He doesn't like necessarily do any giant dramatic chops, but he very clearly didn't go over the top where he could have gone over the top and signaled ahead of time, like, hey, this character is really scary. To me, it felt like he was just a normal dude, a little bit mousy, a little bit kind of, not 100% normal, but nobody in the apocalypse is normal. That's absolutely fine. And, we see more and more of him. The characters follow him around. He helps them out. He gives them the food. He has this thing where he's celebrating Christmas all the time, and that's kind of cool. And maybe a little bit of a skis note where he's opening all the mail, but I'm going to be honest with you guys. If I was stuck in a mail sorting place during the zombie apocalypse, I would absolutely read your mail. All right. And then that turn at the end where you see that, of why these zombies have been following him this whole time, which was, I guess, the one tip-off, and the one thing that was maybe a red flag is, the fact that the zombies are interested in him exclusively. And again, I was still led astray by the red herring, right? This is almost a literal red herring. I was still thinking, okay, yes, this is an example that they still have some semblance of humanity left, that they still, like, okay, granted they want to eat him, but there's something in them that, like, just wants to be around this guy that they know, and their zombie brains are translating that into bite, 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 eat brains. And to get that turn, to have that character be revealed as this monster, literally, and the fact, not only that, but they had the sort of dumb, obvious joke of going postal because he is a post worker. But the idea that he takes advantage of the zombie apocalypse, he doesn't do his going postal thing before. He sees the opportunity. He sees all these people that he hates, and he says, what if all these were zombies? What if I changed these into an image that I wanted? And in a way, it's an interesting echo of Murphy, right? Because Murphy's trying to change everybody to be like him. This guy's not trying to change everybody to be like him, but he is trying to make a world in his own image, a world that he is a ruler of, in a sense. And that revelation that these zombies have been after him the whole time because he was the last thing they saw, and he killed them on purpose in such a way that they would not have their brains damaged, that they would still be completely zombified, just blew my hair back. Figuratively, obviously. But I thought that just rearranged my entire worldview of what these zombies are. And I finally grasped what I think I'm probably pretty dumb for not getting, that yes, there is something of a soul left in these people. There's some remnant or shard of consciousness still present in their minds. However, that consciousness is basically in torment because all it knows how to do now is to watch the eating happen, to watch the monster that it has become chase down, maybe people that it loved, people that it, despise. But anyway, just like the consciousness of knowing that you're a monster and not being able to do anything about it. And again, super dense for me, but finally 3 seasons into Z Nation, mercy as a concept finally clicked for me. I understood oh, right, they do have a soul, and killing them is the only merciful thing to do because there isn't a cure for the zombies. Even if there's a vaccine for the survivors that would keep them from getting turned, there's nothing that's going to bring these zombies back. Murphy can't do it. No cure can do it. Z-Weed is not going to do it. Cassandra proved that, Murphy can't stop people from turning into essentially monsters with Cassandra. So I think that this was an episode that I needed to see, and I thought this character was incredible. It all fit together. It all worked really well as kind of a murder mystery that you didn't know was a murder mystery until the end, which is a great thing that you can do in the zombie apocalypse because there's dead people around anywhere, and to find someone who you trust and who's helping you out, and then all of a sudden you find out, oh, he's a killer. Oh, just that's something that you can't do in sort of a regular. I mean, I guess you can reveal somebody as a killer, but to have the bodies surrounding him and not get that he's the killer, I think that's something that you can only do in a zombie show. And Warren in particular really drove it home because she's talking to the Chinese lady, and she says, the Chinese lady said, these don't have a soul. The zombies don't have a soul. And Warren says, well, why do we give them mercy? And I think that was at the core of what this episode was about, at least for me emotionally. Plot-wise, I think the most important thing, the most important thread of the episode is obviously Murphy. Him and Tenk and Dr. Murch are all off, finally in Spokane, which, as I mentioned earlier, it's great to see that state and that city finally getting sort of a spotlight on the screen, because that's where they've been filming the whole time. And to see sort of they really make it look beautiful. And I like to think that it's sort of as a thank you to the actual Spokane, you guys, we appreciate you letting us shoot our weird zombie show here. We're going to make your bombed out city look pretty legit. Even after the apocalypse, this is the place to be. And Murphy's headed there. He has a lot of great lines where he's talking up how great Spokane is, and mentions the World's Fair of 1974, which I don't think Murphy should have been alive for, at least not alive enough to remember the World's Fair of 1974, but whatever, maybe he read it in a book, or maybe he's way older than we know. Somehow he's talking about, sort of the highlights of Spokane. Apparently there's a it's a dam, it makes power like the Hoover Dam, which is great in the zombie apocalypse. If you can get sort of a natural water power source, could be really beneficial. and he decides he's going to set up his kingdom there. However, before he gets there, and I've skipped, forgive me, it has been a whole day. Before he gets there, he finds a couple and their dying child on the side of the road. And we don't get an explanation for how he convinces them to let them do this, which I'm fine with, because I think if a blue man comes up to you in the apocalypse and says, I've got something that'll work and your daughter's dying anyway, so why not give it a try, and then bites her on the cheek, you're gonna, I mean, what have you lost? Your daughter's still dying. So I'm glad we didn't have to sit through them arguing with him about biting their daughter on the cheek. But my wife did, as we were watching it, she looked over at me and was like, what kind of parents let a blue guy bite their daughter on the cheek? I think one of those desperate times, desperate measures kind of a thing. But he gets, he bites them on the cheek. He goes on to Spokane. We get the whole look at how great Spokane is moments. And Tenk, as they're standing on the bridge over the waterfall there, is starting to piece together that something isn't right. He sees Dr. Murch. He sees the bite mark. He knows Murphy always normally does the bite mark on the cheek, and he feels around on his face and he's like, nope, it's not, I don't have the bite mark, do I? But he knows something is off, and he's almost ready to commit suicide. I thought that was how I read the moments anywhere, where he's standing there, sort of, you get a kind of a Dutch angle a little bit, not a Dutch angle. It just made it, the way the shot was composed kind of made you feel that vertigo of standing high over this waterfall, and maybe he's going to jump, and maybe he's thinking about jumping, and he's sort of getting closer. And of course, Murphy comes back in and says, "Hey kid, let's keep going. All right." Murphy not tipping his hand yet. Quite. He did have to poke him a little bit and say, "Oh yeah, you forgot counting." Because I think he's too proud to let it go completely unnoticed. But he's kind of keeping it under wraps, and Tenk doesn't understand what's happened. I think. It's difficult to know exactly how much Tenk understands. And it's difficult to know how much power Murphy has over him. Because clearly he can influence what people do. It's hard to tell if he's going to be able to influence what people know. But he gets Tenk, they go into sort of an abandoned building. He's talking about, building up his empire, making it the center of his, new kingdom where all the blends are going to come from. He's talking to Dr. Murch about, here's where your lab will be. They have a little bit of an interlude where some of the Enders come in. And the Enders are an interesting twist. I like that they haven't introduced more zombies that Murphy can't deal with, because I like it to a point. It's an interesting idea that Murphy can't control every zombie, but on the other hand, if you just keep doing it, then eventually the power of being the Murphy just seems like, all right, well, what's the point of that? So it's nice that they've kind of changed it up with these sort of crazed humans, and his guards that he's working with here are able to take them down, and Tenk as well helps with that. And then near the end of the episode, he's talking about, here's my throne room, here's how everything's going to be, and the family with the daughter comes back, and they're like, hey, thanks so much for helping, which Murphy initially does his Dick Murphy move where he's like, I don't want to talk to them. We got rid of them. I bit them on the cheek just so they would go away. Get out of my way. And then they come in and, they're practically groveling. They're saying, they're thanking him for what they've done to their daughter. And they ask him to do for them what he's done for her. And the light goes on above Murphy's head, right? He understands. He's like, this is what I've been talking about this whole time. This is the utopia that we could be living in, with everybody getting bit by me and technically being controlled by me, but at least you're not zombies, are you? Isn't that great? Yes. And I thought that was a great way to end the episode, partly because it takes us forward even further. I think we're going to see Murphy and the army of blends grow. If you watch the preview for the next episode, they're definitely going to be stretching that idea out. But also because it shows that Murphy kind of has a point. that there is something very desirable in this horrible, horrible land with becoming a blend. I don't know that these people know how much power he has over the blends that he creates. However, even if they did, I think that there are a certain number of folks that would subject themselves to that anyway and say, hey, listen, okay, fine. Yes, you will be able to mind control me, but at least I won't die. And it's easy to say, really easy to say, give me liberty or give me death when you're not staring directly at the death right at that second. But these people are and have been for 2 or 3 years now. So it does make a lot of sense. And I think that's going to be a great, sort of conflict in the show going forward of setting up these ideological differences of, would you rather be safe but under Murphy's control, or would you rather be very, very unsafe and free in a sense? And even, it's arguable whether they're technically free. So I love everything about where that's going. Murphy, I'm really glad. There was a little bit of a rumor back at the beginning of the season, back in sort of mid-season when they were shooting, that Keith Allen might not come back. I'm glad that he did, especially knowing how central Murphy is to the plot now. He's doing a great job as this. Tenk is doing a great job. I don't know where this is going. I love it when I don't know where this is going. I'm glad that we're not just recycling. It felt like to me that season 2 was spinning its wheels and sort of recycling what season 1 was, because that's what Sci-Fi asked for, and that's fine. They have a right as the people funding the show to say, to the producers, hey, I think we like where this is going. But I'm glad that they let them move forward with the story and craft something new and different and let them move forward with this Murphy storyline. I can't wait to see where it goes. Anyway, if you guys have any more thoughts or comments or stuff that I may have forgotten in the episode, feel free to leave a comment down in the bottom here of the YouTube video. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, click the like button and maybe hit that subscribe, because I'll be coming out with these every week until the season is over. And I'll see you next week with another episode of the Z Nation Recap.